it's been a while since I posted anything, and that's because I've been super busy moving into our new house. So here we are. I have not come anywhere near finishing putting all our stuff away, but I do have a surprise for you guys here. First I'm going to show you the outside of the house, and then I'm going to show you the lift that we have with the Skyline on it now. Now I've been unable to upload anything just because all of my stuff was packed away, so I didn't have not only the time but the resources in order to make any videos. I did record some stuff from a past event that we did. We went up to Mid Pond in Alabama. My friend Logie let me borrow his 370Z, which I really enjoyed driving. Both my cars were down. Hopefully that's going to change soon. The Skyline is working, it's just not working properly, and I don't want to push it and have more stuff go wrong. So now that we have the lift, I can put it up, get a little more in depth into what's going on under there, and not only diagnose problems that have been going on, but fix some things that I've been putting off for a while. I've got some stuff here for it that are going to help with the cooling issues I've been having. I'm going to actually do a AC delete, and we're going to do a chase bays tucked radiator with some big old fans. So that's going to move the radiator forward, let the airflow come through there a lot nicer. We're going to get rid of the AC condenser, which is overall blocking some stuff. Then I also got a oil cooler with a fan on it that will be relocated so that it's not heating up that radiator as well, because it was previously in front of it. So after that issue is fixed, we'll diagnose some other things. But yeah, finally glad to be able to be doing some more work on this car, because as you know, I love it. It's one of my favorite cars ever, and I feel bad when I neglect it or don't get around to giving it the TLC it deserves. We can actually walk under the car. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that we have had a chance to peek at but not address, or discover some new problems. Hopefully not, but it's inevitable. Just looking under here real quick, let's see what we got. So right off the bat here, my exhaust has a big hole in it, which I already knew about because I was dragging nuts on the ground. Looks like my diff is leaking something. Yeah, that's gear oil. What's going on here? I know I had a transmission leak before. Looks like that's still going on. Yep. So I'm gonna have to address that, but now I can actually drop it onto a table instead of having to work under my car. But I can more easily see where this is coming from now as well, which seems to be an easier spot than I thought. Just looking under here in the engine bay, definitely got some oil coming out somewhere. Might be just residual oil, but overall frame looks pretty good. But yeah, you can definitely tell there's been a lot of gunk coming under here. So I'm going to go ahead and address my first priority here, which is under my wheel well. I've got the harness that runs from my ECU up into my engine bay. As you can see, this sticks really far into the wheel well for some reason, and I've already banged some stuff out in. You can see where the wheel's been hitting after it's been banged in to fit the wise fab. You kind of have to do that for clearance. But I've gone as far as I can without moving this harness, and it's still chewing through some of these wires. You can see there that the wheel is just, or the tire is just rubbing through those wires. And I've gone to a smaller or excuse me, a lower profile tire, and it just doesn't fit the body kit as well. It just has a huge gap all around if I go into a lower profile tire. So I'm sticking with what I have for the tire size. I'm going to relocate that harness so it doesn't come into the wheel well. It's very dirty in there anyways. I don't want the wiring harness to get messed up down the road. It already has, but any further. So what I'm gonna do is, I've already removed my catch can out of here. I mean, not permanently, just moved it out of the way. I'm gonna take my wiper motor away, and I'm gonna eventually delete my AC here after this. And I thought about just running the wiring harness straight into that hole in the firewall that already exists, but I'm a little nervous about how close it is to the downpipe. So I don't think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna blink that off after I move it and make a hole as close as I can here. I'm probably gonna start it from inside just so that I know. No, that's not a good idea. I'm just gonna start it as close as I can to the edge, but also still reaching inside the cabin. Probably move it right around here somewhere. Make a good size hole for the harness to fit through, still be able to seal it off around there, and not end up with this sort of mess that's going on here. So keep you updated on that. All right, so now that I've pulled the wires out of the wheel well, just gonna leave them dangling in the engine bay now here. I've started undoing my AC system. Specifically, I unbolted the main lines going through the firewall. I'm going to push that through. I'm going to delete some stuff for the AC that's in here. And that will make room for me to actually mount my ECU in a better spot and run more wires easily through there. And then I can actually just run this harness somewhere in that proximity. I don't think I'm going to use those holes still, but we'll see. And now that I've routed the cables through the spot that I like, through the engine bay, I'm going to relocate my ECU and put it right on the back of the glove box for ease of access. Haltech Dash is in and looking good. So switching out the dash and getting all the wiring done for that was really simple, actually. I just removed all of the pinout wires that were from my old dash, and then I used the Haltech's CAN systems, really just plug and play, with the exception of wiring in anything that I have going accessory-wise. It allowed me to enable this push button module, which I have my fans wired to, kill switch, my data log button, which is actually coming in to be really useful because I can just plug it into my ECU, my laptop here, and I actually was able to see that I'm getting some trigger errors, not a whole lot, just a few, so I was able to just adjust my filter level, increase that a little bit, and it was nothing to worry about for blowing my motor, but obviously you don't want any trigger errors when you're drifting because you're hitting max RPM a lot. So we're going to test it at this ride-along event rather, and it's going to be a good time. We're going to be able to test everything out. I'm going to data log and see how many trigger errors I get. While I'm driving, actually, I'm going to be able to log everything, and I'm also going to be able to see, I've got some trigger errors set up right here, so I'll be able to know when there's some sort of timing issue or any sort of changing of the engine going on that is unexpected. Everything is working really well, and I'm able to pretty much do everything with Haltech and set up everything specifically for what I'm trying to accomplish here. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with this new connection. I highly recommend always going with the same brand name across the board for anything. I made a big mistake originally getting a Haltech ECU and not getting the Haltech Dash, although the iC7 was not out when I first purchased the ECU. It was only the black and white. So I opted for the AIM Sports Dash, thinking that would be easier to communicate and set up, but it was just a headache to get all the pinouts to actually function correctly and go to the right places. So very happy with this now. Gonna have a lot of fun using it this weekend, which should be a good time at Orlando Speed World. Ride-along event charity to raise money for dogs, for a shelter that rescues them and tries to rehabilitate and rehome them. All right, so while I have the AC being pulled out and everything, it's kind of hard to pull the compressor out, so I just went ahead and started doing the radiator from Chase Base because I had to pull a bunch of it out anyway. So thought it was a good time for it, and I'll just dedicate this week to getting that done, and we'll see what we got. So I've already pulled the condenser out and everything. It's all over here. Basically what we're going to be doing is pulling this radiator out, and then we're going to put the new Chase Base, which is much thicker. We're going to be putting it inside of this where the AC condenser sat, and it's going to give us not only much more room for cooling, but it's actually going to pull these fans back away from all the wheels for the belts in here. We'll have one less belt anyways because the AC compressor will be gone, but we're still gonna have power steering until someone comes out with an electric kit, which I really wanna do. There's do-it-yourself kits, but there's a company that I'm waiting on to make like a whole kit specifically for R32s. So all that space will be nice to have to work in the engine bay, plus extra cooling, plus extra airflow, much better airflow, and I'm not a big fan of the Mishimoto radiator anyways, so we'll see a huge improvement in cooling. So now we've pulled everything out, and we're gonna start trimming some pieces and fitting the new Chase Base radiator. So after cutting up everything the way that I think it's gonna fit, we ended up with these square notches in the radiator support, and it sits real nice in there actually. The only problem was that the radiator seemed to mount really far forward here if I was using the little tabs that came with the radiator that don't even have holes in them or anything. So it's kind of a semi-universal application for Nissans 240s, S13s, S14s, and Skylines. So what I ended up doing was pushing the radiator, installing it from the inside instead of the outside, and pushed it through, and instead of cutting up the radiator and flipping the tabs or anything like that, I ended up making these little notches here where the radiator tabs are going to actually sit recessed, and then I'm gonna drill a hole through the other side here and mount it like that. That way it's sitting as center with this bar as possible, so that I have the most concealment inside of my engine bay, which will in turn give me, you know, more room here, just overall better placement, better mounting options, and more secure points that it's gonna sit in there, as opposed to all the weight being on one side or the other. So I'm overall happy with it, and I'll show you guys what that looks like now. So my camera cut out while I was doing an install, but I was able to get this tucked radiator in, and it comes out a little further to about here, goes all the way under this radiator support, and I've got these massive fans coming out of here, and the temperatures, I took it for a drive, the temperatures were staying really low, under 180, and then the fans kick on, and then it brings it down to 175 degrees, which is right where I want to be. Looks really good. Everything fit back into place real nicely. I didn't have to adjust my bash bar. I didn't have to change the piping for my intercooler or anything like that. That is the Chase Base tucked radiator, and it even gave me a little space up here to put more wiring. I just kind of zip tied my harness up into the radiator support, so it is sitting a little lower than my other radiator, but to compensate, they've got this fill valve, I guess, that just really just screws in with AN fittings to the back of the radiator, and gives you your highest filling point here, as long as it's above the higher point in the block. That's perfect for what we're trying to do. And I did take it for a drive. Everything works really well. I'm going to probably get some new piping here because it's a little bit different size, so I don't like how close I had to cut it, but we did what we had to. There's no leaks. It's working fine. So that's it for now. I've got some videos that I'm going to be sharing from the ride-along event that I was talking about. Should be a really good time. I expect it to be a big turnout, a lot of people there. So hopefully I'll be able to drive the Skyline and not have any sort of issues. Again, I street drove it, so it was operating really well, staying a lot cooler without that AC system in there, and with the new radiator. You know, running it so hot before, I seen no issues this weekend, and probably going to be way smoother, be able to get back-to-back rides in without any sort of issues, even though it's like 95 degrees out today. It's really, really hot. But overall, everything was a lot easier using this lift. I got all this done very quickly, and I'm super happy with the amount of time I'm going to save, but also all the other things I'm going to be able to do. So thanks for watching, and pay attention, follow, subscribe. I've got a lot more content that's recorded, and I'm going to be recording soon, so that's going to come out, and just expect a lot more from now on, because we've got the time, we've got the lift, we're going to be getting a lot done here. Thanks for watching.